That's first look at the forecast. Let's bring in weather specialist Nora Fott. Nor?
Hey, thanks very much, Anne. Well, look, I'm sure the Toronto skyline probably looks fantastic tonight. The problem is, you're going to have to take my word for it because we can't see anything with our harbor cam, courtesy of a lot of cloud cover and actually a lot of fog in the region just now. Good news, though. 10 degrees outside the Toronto airport. That's well above average. Much of this side of the province has been looking at wet conditions, just rain and not snow, and that's mostly because of the very dry conditions extending especially into southwestern Ontario. 14 in Windsor just now, but even in Sudbury, where we're looking at 4 degrees, still fairly mild. We are looking at the first bit of snow starting to travel now into northwestern Ontario, and that's where we're going to see the heaviest totals come Remembrance Day tomorrow. So this evening and heading into Monday morning, around 20 centimeters for parts of northwestern Ontario. It will be windy in other areas. We're looking at southern Bruce County towards Georgian Bay. Wind gusts potentially 70 to 90 kilometers per hour. It will be a fairly windy day across much of this side of the province. The GTHA pushing to the east and into southwestern Ontario as well. Those winds probably gusting around 60 kilometers per hour for areas like Toronto, 50, Peterborough and Kingston. We are looking at rain for your Remembrance Day, but actually in the early morning hours and towards the afternoon, where much of those ceremonies happen, it's just going to be mostly showers and cloudy conditions for much of us. As we head into the evening, the heavier rain pushes in around the dinner hour towards the east and into parts of cottage country. So the good news is it won't be a washout, and we are actually seeing climbing temperatures, but do be prepared for those strong gusting winds. Into the overnight tonight in Toronto. And also as we head into tomorrow, especially in the afternoon hour, gusting winds up to 60 kilometers per hour. Your high 12 degrees for your Monday. Anne?
Thanks for that, Nor. Faith leaders, allies. Hi, Nor. Can you believe that it is the eve of Remembrance Day, and a lot of people have special plans for commemoration ceremonies or to be outside, and a lot of them probably wondering what kind of weather and temperatures they're going to have to contend with. What's it looking like?
Well, it's interesting actually, Anne, because large parts of the country are seeing temperatures not where they should be. We're looking at a lot of mild air across large sections of the country. It doesn't mean there isn't signs of November across large communities, and by November I mean snow in the forecast for some. Well, your Remembrance Day won't be a washout at all in Toronto. In fact, when a lot of those ceremonies are happening in the morning, around the late morning, if not early afternoon hours, it's going to be mostly dry, potentially a shower or so in the Toronto region. Cloudy, but a lot of wind, gusting up to 60 kilometers per hour potentially in parts of the GTA, and as we push east, 50 kilometers per hour as well for other parts of Ontario. We are looking at mild conditions across much of the country, as I mentioned. In Fredericton, 10 degrees today, 10 in Toronto, and even mild in Saskatoon, Regina, quite above average. Calgary, closer to seasonal, and Vancouver, above average yet again. We are seeing signs of November, though, and that's that snow. Snow is normal in November, but actually a lot of parts of southern Ontario and pushing to the east won't actually get some snow for quite a while, including into next week. So while we're seeing that snow move through, it'll be mostly towards northern Ontario and northern Quebec as well. Down here, it'll be mostly rain, and we'll see that rain developing around the dinner hour again to the east into parts of Peterborough, Muskoka, North Bay as well. And as we head into the overnight hours, we could see some flurry activity around Owen Sound, potentially into North Bay as well. But take a look at what happens when this system moves out. As early as Tuesday, we start to see those clouds dissipate and that low pressure replaced with high pressure. Now a lot of clear skies, and so plenty of opportunities to see the sun Tuesday and into Wednesday. Really fantastic conditions. The only drawback, though, is that we'll see those plummeting temperatures quite quickly, and that's what happens when we have a cold front that's moving in into the coming hours, and with that the temperatures start to tumble behind that cold front, and that's what we're going to see as early as Tuesday in Toronto. So 12 degrees tomorrow, 12 in Oshawa, Barrie 11, 13 Niagara Falls, 12 in Belleville, and by Tuesday it's down to 7. Your Wednesday 7 as well, with -2 for that overnight low. As we approach Friday and Saturday, warming up and brightening up. But it does look like Sunday will get a lot more cloud cover, still dry. Your high at 11 degrees in Toronto.
For the public's assistance in locating a missing youth. 14-year-old Nathaniel was last seen Saturday afternoon in the Dundas Street West and Humbercrest Boulevard area. Police are concerned for his safety, and anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to call them. Time now for our first look at the forecast. Let's bring in weather specialist Noor Rafat. Noor?
Hey, thanks very much, Anne. Well, we're seeing some improvements when it comes to the Toronto skyline. Some of that fog slowly dissipating. Can't say the same for areas north of the city centre. In fact, it's still persisting in areas like North York and above that, 13 degrees just now outside the Toronto airport. It's actually even getting warmer hour by hour, especially as we see a lot of these winds pushing from the south at times in Toronto and Hamilton, and for other communities, London, Ontario, Windsor, from the west. These winds have been causing quite a problem. A lot of active weather over here. We've got a severe line of thunderstorms tracking east at a high rate of speed, and that has brought some severe thunderstorm watches and warnings, along with squall watches and even weather statements for strong winds gusting potentially up to 90 kilometers per hour. The risk right now is mostly damaging winds, but we can't rule out a tornado and, of course, the risk of hail with these severe thunderstorms. The system right now is probably around the Milton and Halton Hills region. It will continue to track east into Toronto, Mississauga, Vaughan and Markham, potentially around the midnight hours before it continues to track east through areas like Cottage Country and into Kingston as we head into the overnight. So the bottom line is, whether this is bringing hail, rain, or potentially a tornado, you should not be outside right now. Seek shelter if you can. Your Remembrance Day will be mostly showers around much of the map, and as we head into the evening hours, heavy rain. Peterborough and the Kawarthas around Tweed as well. For the most part, though, a lot of dry conditions for much of the day in Toronto, but it will be quite windy, gusting winds up to 60 kilometers per hour from the west-southwest for much of the day. That means your high 13 degrees in Toronto. Anne?
Thanks for that, Noor. The Law Society So some people call this transition season. I call it anything goes. Do you need, rain boots? Do you need snow boots? Do you need hiking boots? Who knows?
Yes, and you really summed it up really well there, Anne, because it's quite unusual during this time of year. Snow is normal, and we have that in the forecast for some, but for others, mild temperatures into the coming days, and that's going to take over some viewing regions. Let's see how your Remembrance Day will shape up. Well, expect rain in your forecast in Toronto tomorrow. It'll be on and off. Showers expected around the time that we're seeing those Remembrance Day ceremonies. And then again, as we head into the evening, for the most part, though, cloudy and windy. These winds from a friendly direction, and you can see what that'll do to the temperatures. Once again, a high into the double digits, 11 or 12 degrees come tomorrow, and we're going to stick with that for much of the day. Mild temperatures have been common across the country, as I mentioned, and you can see what I mean just by taking a glance. Parts of Atlantic Canada into those teens. A lot of 12s on the map here in parts of central Canada. 11s, Vancouver and Calgary, certainly not normal. But we are still seeing the signs of winter, as I mentioned, and that's that snow. Mostly around northwestern Ontario, the heaviest, and towards eastern Quebec as well, where we're going to see those accumulations. Not so much the case for large sections of southwestern, southern, and eastern Ontario. That's where we're mostly going to see the rain. And here it is by tomorrow afternoon for those Remembrance Day ceremonies. Mostly showers, as I mentioned, though cloudy, and we'll get another push, this time heavier rain towards the Peterborough region around 6 o'clock or so, around north of Bancroft as well. As we head into Tuesday, potentially some overnight flurries, Owen Sound, Wyerton. But take a look at this. The low pressure system moves out, and quickly the high pressure takes over. So we're going to see some spectacular conditions and, in fact, clear skies heading into Tuesday evening and for your Wednesday as well. That'll be some good news. We would like to see the sunshine after that rain. The potentially not so good news is that as this cold front moves on, we're going to see temperatures plummet behind it. So these double digits that you're seeing on the map tomorrow will be no more as we head into your Wednesday, especially in Toronto. 7 degrees and a frigid overnight at -2, 8 on Thursday, so back down to seasonal. It'll get colder, though, around Cottage Country, up towards Barrie as well. Friday and Saturday into the double digits with some sunshine.